White House for that, but it's $10,000 more. Wow. You've got to like some receptions, like you have Harris on Friday.
Yes.
And then all the security stuff on that day, which is pretty good. Yeah, well, I don't know if I passed yet. But, yeah, it's just exciting stuff. Our club is tracking, we're one of the busiest clubs out there. A lot of people laugh. I got 3 acres, program running good. Start transitioning to it, and the new person.
Well, yeah, I mean, I will still be here, even if you are.
Scheduled to leave.
Or not.
As low as I
was trying to look at the easier.
Yeah, well,
good, that sounds good.
Just information.
It's just the
Oh, you know, I see.
we're all brand new.
I know.
Too many times. We deal with this stuff. It's like, well, kill me. Oh, man.
So
This one, I was listening back on a meeting from last week and it's confirmation.
Yeah,
It's the way we talk.
I think it was here.
Wireless mic.
It's just.
Doesn't work.
The wireless mic is supposed to work with those.
They never fixed it.
Unless he would.
And then I think I should
I think it's still like kind of simply.
throw them a nudge.
I don't know if the last part comes up was signed out of the folks in New York.
I do, I think it's just.
Do better stuff.
Like that. We should probably all have speakers. And so should the person.
But even with that.
Still doesn't work.
I should go back and listen and see if like, if there's a it's up to you, because it's like,
No, I just took it.
Oh, it's shuffling between the
But, head of the bond we just done that.
Got it. Okay.
sound like it all just blending stuff.
yeah. There's the only school they have, but they're
Small.
Yep, it's on the outside of the building, so it's shown in the.
This seems like it.
Yeah, and the first.
I mean, now that I know it's earlier.
It's upstairs.
Thank you.
Okay, well, hello. We're only missing Rob, so, and my clock says 6:01, so I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Georgetown to order. It is Tuesday, June 13th, 2023. Let's go ahead and start off with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And next is roll call. I am Lynette Kelsey, Police Judge. Rob Connell. is up here. Deanne Powell.
Here, I can't hear you guys.
Sorry. I will
I could hear you when you called for a roll call, and now all of a sudden it's down to about, nothing.
I was looking down. Let me get a few words out and see if it's improved. So we're adding one item, which is the short-term license agreement for the firehouse. And we should all have copies.
I don't think I did email it to her.
Oh.
Do you want to send it to your? Yeah. Jen.
I can go downstairs and do that. I can't do it.
I got it. Okay, so that's
Okay.
number 8, and
Yes. Anything else? We are changing the,
add to the executive session.
yes.
Besides capital price Mike litigation, just add real estate negotiations, except.
Okay.
Can I ask to add one more thing to the agenda, just a quick update from business promotions in reference to 4th of July activities, just that can go under staff items.
Okay.
Yeah. It's Jen, sorry, I guess you can't see me. Rick is emailing you the information, the short-term license agreement for the firehouse.
Okay,
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Who would like to make a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to amend the agenda as discussed. All in favor say aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Audience business. Members of the audience have 5 minutes to present any matter of interest not already on the agenda. Do we have anybody here? Okay. So, Paul, go ahead. You have the microphone.
Hi, my name is Paul Boat. I live at 901 Rose Street, and, well, that's what I am. I'm a citizen of town. I am, is this,
I think we can't hear it. It's not being amplified.
check?
Is it on? Did you
I can actually hear Paul better than I can hear any of the board.
Because I have a theater voice.
Well, I guess you don't need a mic. There you go. Okay, let's just try it though, we just want to test it.
Okay. My name is Paul Boat. I live at 901 Rose Street. I am here to speak briefly in dissent of I understand it's the first reading tonight, of the change in our illuminated sign ordinance for the historic business district in Georgetown. I'm a historic preservationist currently. I'm part of an historic preservation organization within the town of Georgetown, but I'm speaking as a private citizen. Also, I'm on the promotions commission, and I was a dissenter in that commission. Historic districts, one of the things we talk about when we go to conferences or when we work with other professionals within the market of historic preservation and also within tourism to heritage tourism destinations, is maintaining the feel of the place. And it's an intangible sometimes, but it's part of what we do to make sure that we're holding especially our historic districts that have a bunch of contributing structures within them, i.e. 6th Street and places like that, to maintain the feel of the historic district while maintaining life within them. Nearly every community that has an historic district has a sign ordinance that requires that internally illuminated signs, unless they are not historic representations of previously placed illuminated signs not be used. And the reason for that is to avoid the feeling of strip malls and places like that. There are plenty of alternatives to internal illuminated signs. We allow in this town externally illuminated signs. So you can have what's called a shingle, it's also called a black sign, I believe, and you can illuminate the outside of that when you're open. You can illuminate a sign from within your store that to have a light on. There are other things. I was in the restaurant industry for 25 years, or hospitality. Placing somebody in your window, making sure your windows are lighted, making sure your menu is on the front of the door and having that sometimes illuminated. Sometimes what people do is they will have their hours placed open right where they are and obey those hours, and then people know. We have some really successful restaurants. One of them, I can think of 3 of them. I can think Lucha was successful, they never had an internally illuminated sign. Previous restaurants to that never had an internally illuminated sign. I think the Sweet Easy does killer business all the time. They do not have an internally illuminated sign. They're doing down illumination and making sure that there's a lively atmosphere for the site. I understand the difficulties of operating a business, believe me, in Georgetown. Even though I have guaranteed foot traffic, I always have to figure out a way to try to entice people to come within that business. And then another business I operate in town, I have to figure out a way to get people in that business that don't think it's a museum. So there's all of that kind of thing that we're doing. But those consistencies are things that I think are important. We all know that the measure of somebody and the measure of a place like an historic district is not based on when it's flush and when things are going well. It's based on when things are going poorly. And I feel strongly that to change a standard ordinance within historic districts that is recommended through historic organizations throughout the country, to change that form would be to be short-sighted for the feel of the place and what we're doing in order to make a temporary fix on what can happen in the future. I respect all the business people in their position with this. I respect that you're volunteers and you're trying to make the best decision you can. I do hope this goes before the DRC process, and I do hope you understand that the people that put these things in place put them in for a reason, because we don't want to destroy the best things of who we are just to make a change that might make something easier in the immediate future. Thank you for your time.
Welcome, Paul. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Doug Nispel, and I lived in Georgetown for about 10 years now. I live at 403 3rd Street, which is the last house on the hill before you get to the water plant. And behind my property, there is an easement, which I was told, and I own part of that property, but it's public access for people who want to use it. It's basically a trail that doesn't go anywhere, but bike riders occasionally use it, and neighbors have it, and so forth. The other place that person that uses it is the bear population in town, because they use it as a dumping ground for their garbage, which to me indicates that the town, I thought it had a bear-proof container law and that it was enforced, but it doesn't seem to be enforced, because again, the bears collect property and garbage back there, which I happen to pick up. And so that's my first point, is I would hope that that could be enforced a little bit stronger if that's the case in terms of that. The second thing I wanted to talk about was the town cleanup day, which I participate in every year, and frankly and candidly, and by the way, I want to say I'm a proud member or resident of this town. I think it's a great town. But it's like all towns, we have little things I think we can improve, but town cleanup day is certainly one of them. I think it's a joke. And the reason it's a joke is, for one thing, the people that have signed up that I've seen, like this last one, primarily were people that use the lake in the wintertime, and apparently they get some sort of a agreement for, you know, that's what I was told when I signed up, that there was a whole plethora that were signed up for it and to help clean up. But the population percentage is very, very small. Part of that, I think, is due to the town does not promote it whatsoever, that I'm aware of, I mean, except for a few signs near the end. And the library didn't even know about it until just a few days before it. I used to live in Summit County that did a big deal with town cleanup days, and most of that area does. And I realized that our revenue, or I mean, I should say the budget is probably not a big one, but certainly they hold barbecues and stuff like that. We could at least hand out burritos or something like that. When I was here this last time, I mentioned this to the guy that was doing names on it, and I mentioned this, and he says, oh yeah, you told me the same thing last year. You know, and it obviously didn't go anywhere in terms of that. So I really think we should do a better job of promoting that to get more town involvement, because I think that frankly, it's a little pathetic for what I've seen. And part of that goes along with that is on the entrance to the town, I think there's 3 eyesores. There's some really good parts of it, but until you get to the town of Georgetown sign, there's 3 areas, one of which is that area called the Trading Post, or also as called the Crazy Horse. That's been closed for at least 8 years. And there's visible garbage behind it that's been cleaned up. And the second one is that it's called Rusty's Garage, I believe, which has more cars back there than a used car lot does, some of which are not very good, well maintained. And the third one is those apartments where you come in, one of them which is green, that hasn't been painted in probably a millennium, and stuff like that. Now I realize that there's ordinances, but I'm thinking that the town could certainly enforce something to make these people have greater pride in their community. And I would hope, and I realize that you guys got limited time when I can give feedback, but hopefully I can get some feedback on this at some time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for audience business? Okay. Moving on, we have the payables. The dates on the payables that we have tonight are from May 19th to June 8th, 2023. Any questions, comments on payables?
I have a couple.
Okay, go ahead, Deanne.
On the front page, clear at the bottom, there's like $3,000 worth of office supplies. Can we have a little explanation on what they are?
Several meetings ago, you guys approved a supplemental for moving the police department over to the firehouse. So they needed furniture and miscellaneous stuff.
It just seemed awfully high, you know, and I wondered what the specifics were.
There probably will be some more up and coming when Rick's office moves upstairs and we get just settled into a permanent place.
On the back of the second page where, down at the bottom again, it's talking about gas and electricity, and there's one Excel thing there for $4,500. Is that also tied to this move?
I'm trying to find it, I'm sorry, it's on the
It's
second page.
10/50/520. About an inch from the bottom.
620.
That's probably the utilities for either the water or the sewer, no, wait a minute.
It's road and bridge.
It's road and bridge, so it's street lights and such. Did you hear me? You look like.
You said it's road and bridge, and then after that, it kind of went away.
For street lights, it's all the charges for street lights.
Okay,
Or road and bridge.
thank you. I just saw those 2 big expenditures and wondered, you know, why.
Anybody else have questions on it?
Okay, make sure the project was done with Buckley LLC before you paid them?
Yes, okay, this is for this 22nd Street purchase, yes, it was done, and it was inspected. And we went back and actually had to turn the railings because they were backwards. And then I got to fix the concrete in certain areas that were cracks on it, so yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we had Craig to also inspect it to make sure it was done right.
Tremendous.
If there aren't any more questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the payables.
I'll make a motion to approve the payables.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the payables dated May 19th through June 8th, 2023 is presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have 2 sets of minutes. Let's deal with them separately. First, we have the minutes of the special meeting, which was on May 18th, 2023. And the only correction that I had, or possible correction, was that I don't think Jennifer was at the meeting.
That's what I did.
Okay, so,
I'll approve the minutes dated May 18th, 2023 with amended.
it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the special meeting from May 18th, 2023. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Next, we have the minutes from our regular meeting, which was on May 23rd, 2023. Any comments or corrections on those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from 5/23/2023.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the May 23rd, 2023 meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have the Strauss Park update.
I'm Bob Hamilton, and over the last week plus, a lot of things have happened. You should have a report, my end of the month report for June 2nd. If you have any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer it. Then there was another update that was prepared primarily to go with the next item on the agenda, which is for I no sooner sent that in and it got distributed to you, that we heard back from the CDOT grant, and we were not awarded the grant. So that is kind of thrown a monkey in the works. So we got that information last Friday. Over the weekend, I put together a revised execution plan, which we can talk about in the next topic here. I guess what I wanted to underscore is that the scope is still as defined over the last couple of months, and it's been documented and been over with everybody. We built the budget up, basically, looking at estimates and then tried to validate that. We've gotten quotes in for all elements of the budget except for the concrete flat work. And we have, I think, 3 or 4 inquiries still out, waiting to get feedback on that. The bottom line is, we're still looking at about a $400,000 project, which fits in our $155,000 budget that the town has, plus the grant budget of $250,000. I talked with Cindy, I read the grant paperwork about, can we spend some money ahead of time, and that's what we could talk about. I'm just gonna kind of roll into the next section, because it all is, ties in. When they denied our grant request, they said the proposal was good, it fits in their guidelines, they needed more definition on regarding the public support, which we can certainly provide, because this has been going on for 2 years, and we've had all kinds of meetings and stuff on that. An explanation regarding why we want to use flagstone, and whether it's ADA acceptable, which we can certainly address that. And then they would like the fire pit removed. We need to get clarification. Are we talking just the fire pit, which is the 6-foot diameter thing with the gas log in the middle, and hopefully that's all they're talking about, or the broader thing with the seat bench and all that. So we'll get that clarified, but we can certainly remove the fire pit and fund that with town money. So that would be the idea, is take it out of the scope that would be funded by or supported by the grant. I looked at the next grant submittal is due toward the end of July, which would put approval toward the end of August. So we wouldn't be able to start spending grant money until sometime in August or September. If we waited to start, we might as well wait till next year, because I mean, we won't get anything done. I'd like to try and get all the prep work done, or the bulk of the prep work done, which is, you know, the dirt work, and some of the foundation work, like the fire pit. Get the foundation put in, the floor slab put in for the concession booth, get the water line in, get the sewer line in, get all that stuff done. And it looks like we have town money which we could use to do that. We wouldn't get reimbursed for any of that work, that would all be on our nickel, but we only need 25%, or excuse me, we only need 10% match for the grant funding. So that's only 25,000. So it gives us well over 100,000, actually 130,000 that we could spend ahead of time. And I looked at that, and I got the numbers in here. Let's see. Yeah, we're talking about spending somewhere around $75,000 to get the prep work done. And I'd like to get authorization to proceed with the project in its entirety, and then authorization to immediately start on those elements that are the prep work, which there's like 10 items listed, including a contingency of 5% that's in that $75,000 number. And we're ready to go with banking for the excavation and the dirt work. We have a contract that's ready to go for the electrical work, which would include putting the foundation, the pole bases in the underground electrical for the lighting. In addition to getting the work started, we have some long lead items, most notably the flagstone, which is 6 to 8 weeks. They want 75%, they wanted 100, I got them down to 75% deposit because they have to cut it. So that comes up to be somewhere around $30,000. So it would fit within that initial money that we could set aside that we don't need for matching. And I think that should be pretty well explained in the June 11th revised execution plan document that you probably got handed to you today. So that's kind of where we are. I know that your motion is set up quite a bit differently, but we could probably go over the words on that.
Okay.
That was a lot to digest in a short period of time. I probably missed some things, but I'm sure I can answer questions.
So to play devil's advocate, if we don't get the grant when it's resubmitted in July with the justifications, and we've gone ahead with this prep work, but then we're gonna be at a standstill until next year when we can either apply for more grants or we've increased our budget from our own internal funds. Are we leaving the park in a state where it's usable?
Yeah, we would be in a state that we would be better off than we are right now, in that where the park should end up is that we will have the water brought over, so we can put a sink or water, we use water in the park. We'll be able to pour the floor for the concession area, which will allow us to go ahead and build the concession area immediately thereafter, because we already have the lumber. And that's the big cost, and then a little bit of labor to, you know, to throw up that booth across the front. You know, that's covered in the, you know, support labor. So we would have permanent concession booths on those two on the L section. So that's an improvement, and we'd be ready to go there. We'll have the dry wells in and the drainage hooked up for the three gutter down pipes, so all that standing water that occurs every time it rains, that should go underground, and it should take care of that. The plan also is to do the grading to the point where we're ready to put sand down. So we'll bring in the crushed stone, not the crushed stone, but the road base, do whatever excavation we need to get the road base in and get everything set up so that when we get able to go ahead and start laying the sands, the limestone pavers,
Flagstone.
Flagstone, we're ready to go. So the grading will be improved over what it is there now. The fire pit's already gone. We will have the foundation in for the fire pit and the seat wall in the park, and we can just, you know, since it's basically 3 pieces of concrete, but all the drainage and stuff underneath it, and then we can just fill that, we'll fill that up so that it's, you know, it's not exposed, it's leveled off, so that we, when it comes time to put the cement blocks in to build up the wall and stuff, we just, you know, clear off, you know, 6 inches of dirt or sand or whatever, you know, the road base, 6 inches of road base over it, and we'd be able to come right up with that. Trying to think what else. We have the bases for the light post in, and there's 2 light posts that go in the park, and then the rest go in the parking lot. There's 4 that go in the parking lot. So those would be in. My plan is to relocate the Christmas tree light to the back of actually attach it to the back of the corner monument. So it's not sticking on a pole. We're just gonna move, we should have done that last year. I don't know why we didn't do that. Well, because that was gonna go away, that's why we didn't do it. And then the other one that's near the post, near the fence, right over by the K&A building, we're gonna move that to the side of we're gonna move it over so it can be used by that planter that's gonna go in the corner by the K&A building. We should be better, you know, considerably better off than what we are now. And if we have enough money, I would want to get the curbs done around the planters, where the grass is gonna go, and also where around the Christmas tree, the concrete landscape curbing in there.
So are we gonna be able to show that our flagstone is ADA compliant? Because I know that was a conversation when that was brought up to
I don't know the answer to that
DPC.
question yet.
You know, because that was a concern that we had, or one of the commissions had. And so obviously now the grant providers are also taking a look at that. And if we're ordering in the flagstone and we can't, and they deny that part of the grant, then then what are we gonna do with that flagstone, you know?
Well, before we order, we need to answer that question. So, I mean, that's something we should be able to look up. I mean, I did a quick look, and flagstone, if it's put in correctly, you know, it meets the requirements. But I want somebody that, you know, like an architect to dig into that. And I'll bring that up to the next ERC meeting with Brent.
Okay.
But, you know, we need to get that answered and demonstrated to them that it is ADA compliant. I mean, it's everywhere in town, so that's why we picked it.
Right, but we knew it was an added expense to go to the flagstone as opposed to a stamped concrete or something that was more ADA compliant or more obviously ADA compliant.
And I'm not sure if we really know if it would be more cost effective to go to stamped concrete or not.
Okay.
So it's always been flagstone in the plaza area. The only thing we extended it into the booths.
Okay.
So that was the only real change that we made from the original design.
Yes, Deanne?
I have 2 things, one of which is, what condition will the park be in for 4th of July? And the second one is talking about the metal fake log installation for the fire pit, but what about 4th of July 1st?
4th of July, there's gonna be a giant hole. No. I'm kidding, Deanne, I'm just kidding. No, 4th of July, it'll be very much like it is today.
So we can still walk around on it and it'll be public safe and all of that.
Yes, the park will be usable for Slacker, which is coming up in another
Yeah.
week. It will be usable for the 4th of July, and there's something further down toward the fall, I think. Big orange sheep, I don't know.
That's November.
That's in November.
Dog days.
Yeah, so, I mean, that,
Dog days is August.
oh, it's the art thing there.
Oh, plein air?
Yes.
That's the end of July.
It'll be
Okay.
middle of it. Those are already blocked out on our schedule to make sure that the park is usable during those periods of time.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I wasn't really envisioning what happened when, you know. Now, back to the fire pit. A year ago, maybe even more, we were talking about it, and we were told that the fire pit would be set up in such a way that there'd be like a big metal pan that would go over it when it wasn't being used as gas, and that we could use it to burn actual logs. Is that still the case?
No, I've been under the understanding that we're not going to be allowed in the future to have an open fire, a log fire, so that it's going to be totally a gas-fired fire pit. And what's proposed is we have a quote from Artistic Steel Log out in the western part of the state. They make a teepee-style log gas burner where the gas burner is integrated into the log, so it's not like two pieces or anything like that. It can rain, it just goes through into the ground, the water. There'll be basically a graded, crushed stone.
The problem I have is it doesn't look old-fashioned and realistic. It looks like some yuppie's backyard.
I think this looks pretty realistic. I mean, if you go up close, you're gonna see it, but in one of the packets, I included a picture of what the
Yeah, there's a package, or a picture in our packet too, and that's what I'm looking at going, oh yuck, this doesn't look like 1870s. This looks like, it's down in Lodo.
I agree, it's not 1870s, but if we're not allowed to do an open fire, what's your alternative? This is the closest thing I could find to something that looks kind of natural. The fact that the flames are integrated into the gas log package, the whole thing weighs about 600 pounds, so, it's gonna sit there and it's not gonna walk away, and the pieces aren't gonna walk away like the fireplace. It definitely has flames throughout it, coming out of the sides and everything, so it's not like what I'm used to seeing in a fireplace where it's, a little bit of gas flames on the bottom.
Well, and
I was just gonna ask if there was some kind of video of it in operation that they
I'm
could
sure I
send
can
us.
find, I'm sure we can find something.
That might
Show
help
them the night
us.
view. Show them the night view.
Yeah, we do have an idea.
Show them the night view.
I can do that.
So,
I don't have it with me.
I guess what I don't like about it is that it stands up like a teepee rather than looking like somebody threw some firewood in there.
The teepee style was the preferred style by Parks and Rec. And so, I mean, I don't much care one way or the other, but I personally like the teepee. I think it looks like a campfire.
I have no objection to the teepee.
I think the Indians used to do
We need to think back to what Paul Boat just said at the beginning of this, we need to keep the look and feel of our historic presentation. And it just, it looks too, I don't know, fake.
It actually looks pretty nice.
I would be happy to entertain something else, but I don't know what it would be.
You know, we are talking, in a sense, we are talking personal taste here. And I see nothing wrong with the visual on the photo that we've got in our packet. I would be interested to see what it looks like when it's in operation, but, yeah.
I may have a picture of it at night.
Thanks, Rob.
Excellent.
So, any other comments or questions
I have a question.
before? Okay, go ahead.
Well, Bob's in the middle of doing something, I mean, the other, the stone pier that's, just below?
Yeah.
That's, how far, how much of that, how far up is that, maybe about a foot, 2 feet?
I think 18 inches or 20 inches, something like that.
If anybody's not gonna see it, or you're only gonna see half, is that something you can put in the back burner and save 65,000?
The stone veneer? I will say no, because what you're gonna have, it's got the walls for the seat wall and the fire pit will be concrete block.
Got it.
And then this stuff gets attached to it.
Okay.
And the good news is we can do the stone masonry work, the veneer stone and that stuff, for about half of that, because we have a local contractor in town who is willing to do that. And you all know
Okay.
That's great.
them. So that will save.
Well, I always thought putting that fire pit right next to a tree, Frank wouldn't be needing to have tree lighting.
Well,
Yeah, this one won't be
It's just.
Here's a picture of it at night.
okay,
And I recognize where it is, it's at Beaver Creek.
okay.
It's not even back there?
Okay.
It's really good look.
Okay, so, are we ready for a motion to proceed? Everybody understand what the motion would be?
Bob, you have a motion to package to approve Strauss Park Phase 3 conditional approval request. You said earlier that you wanted to add to that, so that you have kind of one size fits all, what were you expecting to add?
I don't have that motion in front of me. I read it quickly.
It's really short, it says approve Strauss Park Phase 3 conditional approval request, so that's all it says.
Oh,
So you want to add to that, or is that good enough, or what?
and authorize, I guess, I don't know, how would you authorize?
Based on
If
the.
you're happy with the $400,000 budget, we will work to that budget. We'll do whatever we can, and then anything that doesn't fit in the budget will get pushed off later, and it would be predominantly, well, not predominantly, it would be parking lot related type stuff, like final, stuff we can't afford to do right now, but it won't really impact the park per se.
I'm trying to figure out what you need from the board here tonight.
Probably minimum, first thing I need is approval to go with town funding to get the project started to the point of, for prep, to the tune of.
Well, rather than, kind of take all, the entire project and split it out into small pieces and approve each piece, if we left the motion as it stands, which you were asking for conditional approval to proceed with phase 3, then you consult with the town administrator and the treasurer on next thing you want to tackle is this is what the funding is going to need to be. I mean, we could express that in an efficient manner rather than trying to list every single piece.
Yeah, and that is what that motion was written for, that, because
Okay.
that was put together before we knew we were gonna get the funding request in the next.
Understood.
So,
But,
that's fine.
I
That works.
mean, you know, the understanding is that a loan opportunity comes up, we'll, you know, grab at it, try for it, and if we don't get it, we just try for the next one, and so on and so on. And if we do get it, great, you know, everything can proceed, but I'd rather not get into trying to micromanage the entire project at this board meeting.
Yeah, that's my job.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay,
You
we
work it
are,
out with the
yeah,
folks.
we're on the same page.
Okay, okay. So as I see it, the recommended motion could stand, just the way it is. Is that-
I think so.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. And did somebody make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
I move to approve Strauss Park Phase 3 conditional approval request.
Second.
okay. It's been moved and seconded.
Good job.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Okay, wait, unmute her so that she can,
Sorry about that. I had turned it down. Yeah, but with reservations.
okay, that was a yes though. So, any opposed? Okay, all in favor, that motion passes. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I'd be happy to work with you on whatever we can do that you think is gonna be the best solution for the fire pit.
Well, it's, you know,
It's good.
Parks and Rec,
Yep.
you know,
I think moving it away from the tree is a good idea.
yeah,
Yes.
we already have.
Yeah.
So, moving on, we've got agenda item number 3A, which is the renewal of the professional services agreement with you, Mr. Hamilton.
So I'll just read the bottom line because Bob and I talked about this, because we are now ready to start phase 3. We changed the contract and now, that was in like January, and now we're changing it again. And basically what this means is, earlier we changed it from 3,500, down to 3,500, and now we're bumping it to 20,000 in order to do this. So that's the change, is because now we're starting this project and we're gonna go full into it, and we need Bob's complete management over this project.
And I do wanna clarify that the 20,000 is basically split into two things. One is my involvement for managing it, which I've estimated that at about 10 hours a week for 27, whatever number of weeks there is. And it comes out to be about $9,000, $10,000. The other was to allow me the discretion to hire local labor at a rate of whatever I want to pay them, whatever is appropriate for the task. And you would be, when you get the invoice, my invoice, it would indicate what was done and what it cost, rather than have to come back and get approval every time for that.
So we're paying you to hire the subs?
Yeah.
I mean, and then
Yeah,
the
and
money's
it's
going through you?
Yeah.
So we won't be writing the checks to
No, you won't be
individual
writing the
subs?
checks, the check will be written to me and.
Okay, I don't remember that being articulated in this contract though.
I thought there was bullet items that had that.
And I also wanted to clarify the amount that's listed in item 7. I think it may have been just a holdover from a previous amount, because it's got $20,500 when it's written out. It's got.
Yeah, it was just 20, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see, yeah, that's a mistake.
Okay.
One of the lowercase letter items, and I unfortunately don't have that in front of me either. Didn't it say something?
Oh, okay, shall use its best efforts to perform all work in a timely and professional manner, and will use that level of care and skill ordinarily, no, that's not it.
C, oversee the work, plan and manage contractors, subcontractors? No, he's talking about
It
the
says
sub.
oversee the work and manage contractors.
It doesn't really say.
Here, can we hand this to you and you can show us which one it is?
Oversee the work. Manage and pay
It's D,
contractors.
number 2D.
Okay.
Supply
Supply.
But that doesn't extend to the contractors and subs necessarily.
Apply project support labor, that's
No, that would
the
be,
subs.
It'd be more direct, I think, in letter C, oversee the work plan and manage and pay contractors and subs for the execution of.
no, because the contractors and subs, like Ryder's contract is a sub that, you know, he's named on, and all that's paid directly by the town. I mean, I review and approve it. The same thing with all the, like Banky and the electrical contractor and all that, I don't pay them.
Okay.
So what subcontracting were you talking about?
If I needed to hire, or ask somebody in town, such as, I mean, we had people that helped, local people, like from Mike Reynolds, his group.
For the frame?
I can pull a guy for a day or half a day to come and take care of a specific task.
Okay, so you could change letter D to say supply project support labor other than contractors or subs as required to keep project on track.
Yes, yeah, that's the intent.
All right.
So they're kind of subs.
Yeah, so the problem was
Like it's sinking.
20 years ago, it would have been me,
Okay.
but not anymore. I'm too old for that stuff.
proper motion be moved to approve Bob Hamilton's report revised professional services contract as edited paragraph 2D.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the contract as edited in 2D. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passed. Moving on to
3B.
a new renewal contract for Richard Ryder Leyva. Leyva? Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm not aware of any kind of provision like that in his, it's just
Okay.
a.
No, it's just what he did last year.
Okay.
I do have a quote from him, a specific quote for the masonry work, which that'll come and get approved later, and that's, he's charging more than $35 an hour for that, that's appropriate, but
Okay.
this is for him doing what he did last year.
This is going from 5,000 to 10,000 so that he can continue to help manage the project with 5.
Right. Okay.
That's it.
Any comments or questions on this contract?
I'll move to approve Richard Ryder Leva's revised professional service contract.
Second.
Okay, it sounded like Mary came in first on the second. It's been moved and seconded to approve this service contract. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thanks very much, Bob.
Thank you all, and,
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Bob.
we actually started demolition over the weekend. Took advantage of the, town cleanup day and the, rider for free. Get rid of, in the town, get rid of the, all the bricks there, so it's gone.
Okay. Very good.
Awesome.
Okay, moving on, we have agenda item number 4, which is requesting a 6-month delay in effectiveness of ordinance number 8, series 2022, by approval of ordinance number 6, 2023.
All right, I'll just start it and then I'll let Jerry kind of make some comments. This is brought up because we received several emails from Brittany and Amber in disagreement with the ordinance. They felt like they had not had enough time to process this. Once they processed, they felt like this was too restrictive in a sense. So Jerry and I had talked over the phone multiple times to discuss what should we do. In the meantime, I went ahead and had a meeting with him to try to understand what their concerns were. So Brittany was present, Brittany Patel, that's to represent the Microtel. Amber was there to represent the Georgetown Mountain Inn, and then the new owners of the Mountain Lodge that just sold. Sorry, Georgetown Lodge, that's correct. Young couple, they own several other motels, kind of similar, and they kind of sat down to hear the discussion. We walked through the ordinance and they made lots of changes and suggestions to the point where it was like they were finished, they were frustrated, they felt like there's a lot of stuff that they would rather sit down and discuss in a work session with the board so that you can understand where they're coming from. Their recommendation was to dissolve the whole ordinance. Went back and Jerry and I talked about it more. We thought it would be better, instead of dissolving this ordinance, to actually just put it on a pause. We're not putting a moratorium, we're just gonna pause it for a few months in order for us to work this situation out. It is an ordinance and we worked really hard to get to this point because of the circumstances that were brought up by the police department. However, it needs some work. It needs for us to come and these are our vendors. We want to make sure they feel understood and heard, but we also want to work with them so that we can get what we both need. And so I did record a lot of the things that they had mentioned of why they were frustrated and disappointed. And so instead of going through this, I think it'd be better for us to talk through this in a work session, negotiate, let's come to terms. And then I want to pause because they did submit one that they felt was overreaching in a violation of the Constitution. And Jerry did some research on this case that she provided, and I want Jerry to kind of give some feedback on it too.
Sure. Rick's right about the present state of the ordinance is there's a provision that sort of delays its effectiveness for 3 months, but the ordinance was adopted, so that time is getting close. Ordinance number 6 amends that ordinance just by switching out the implementation date and moving it to the December 1st of this year, so moving it out another 6 months. That said, it's a licensing ordinance, and anybody can do Google research and pull up a U.S. Supreme Court case, but then you have to read the 30-page case, not the first page that you get on Google. And we're well aware of that case when the ordinance I wrote for another one of our clients was adopted, the hotel licensing ordinance. And that case doesn't say you can't do hotel licensing at all. It arose on some facts, I won't bore you with too many of them, but the police department in that particular case said, we get to just show up at the hotel desk and look at your guest register without giving you any advance warning. And the court said, no, that you cannot do that. This ordinance doesn't provide for anything like that. It says you gotta keep these kinds of records. It doesn't talk about how they're inspected, and unless and until the police department came up and demanded to see them without advance warning, you're not in trouble under that case. And we can certainly make that clear in any revision. But it's not right to say, well, the Supreme Court says you can't do this, which is kind of what is represented as a result of looking at the Google summary of a Supreme Court case. And you just have to do more, and sometimes the summaries are correct, but that's rare. Things are always a little more involved than what the Google summary says. So there's that. Just mechanically, if you wanted to give more time, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think there are some things we can do, but I think it's proper to have the time to do that, number one, and to reach back out to the hotels with the revision, rather than kind of band-aiding it. And so 6 months, I think, is appropriate if you want to provide that time. That's all I got.
Any comments from the board?
I'm in favor of delaying it, because I think I know a lot of questions have come up, and if we now have new owners of the Motor Lodge, is that right?
Georgetown Lodge.
Georgetown Lodge. And I was under the impression that that was the venue or facility that we were having more of the problems with the long-term transient population, and they don't seem to be, catering to that or opening their doors, whatever, renting for that purpose. And I know the other two don't, so yes, let's wait 6 months.
I would agree with that.
Do we have a timeline, like when would it be appropriate to schedule a work session so we can get that thing on the calendar? Because I think then questions could be answered and things could move forward one way or another.
We don't have anything as of yet right now. However, all it takes is a couple emails to get some times put down.
And I'd be open for a work session with them. I'd love to hear them. I wish they had come at, when they had the opportunity to during the second hearing, but we have put our lodging facilities through a lot these last few months, and I think we need to, be aware of that,
Maybe we could vote on a delay and then give them some possible time where we can meet.
I'm certain that if you approve the ordinance number 6 on first reading, it'll have to go to second reading as well, but it pretty clearly will if you approve on first. Then either you can give direction to Rick, or you can develop that schedule, understanding, okay, I've got 6 months to do this, get some points out to the hotels, kind of bullet point things, get meeting with them, and then we can draft.
Well, and the other thing is, if we don't come to an agreement, we can either come back to the table, offer another extension on compliance, or the ordinance stands and they need to come into compliance. So,
Lots of ways it could proceed.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Any other comments?
I'd like to see if we do go ahead with the extension, that we make it contingent upon the work session being held in the first, 6 weeks, 2 months, so that there's time to work on whatever the outcome of that is, and/or have an additional one if that's necessary.
I think that's fine. I wouldn't make that a condition of the approval of the ordinance. I'd make that direction that the board gives to your town administrator now that you've created the extension, because he's the one that's going to have to kind of put that schedule together. I see that as kind of implementive, if you will.
Yeah.
But I'm not willing to vote for an extension unless I'm assured of a work session.
Well,
We'll have to see what the motion says, and there it is. Right now, you've got a recommended motion. If you want to approve the extension, you fill in the word approve where the blank is, and I leave the rest to anyone here that wants to make that motion that's on the board.
I'll make the motion. I move to approve the request for a 6-month delay on the effectiveness of ordinance number 8, 2022 by adopting ordinance number 6, 2023 on first reading.
I'll second it.
I further move to direct the administrator to move with whatever speed he can manage.
Godspeed.
That's fine.
I wasn't bringing religion into it.
Sorry about that. I'll still second.
okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 6, series 2023 on first reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have to say, without that clause on it, I have to be opposed. It has to be in the approval of extension that says contingent upon.
Motion passed. We move on to agenda item number 5, which is Mountain Peak Controls contract for radio reads for the lift station. This is Ryan Zabel.
Yes.
Do you want me to?
Start it.
This is what I love, Ryan. Hold on, give me a second. So the situation is, down by Major Anderson, there's a lift station. And this lift station has been put in with some very primitive indications. And so if there's a backflow, something that causes wrong, where it creates, I don't know what you call it, some kind of system, what is it? Define this, what is the problem, if it's overflowing, it's clogged?
What the
SSO.
lift station is a collection system from the Major Anderson development from probably the 90s. At one point, it was just a flat pad with a control box there with floats that would kick on some pumps, with a strobe light that would sound alarm if the pumps weren't working. In 2013, I had somewhere in there, 15, I had a sanitary survey that came out and said that this wasn't sufficient enough, that we had to put a building over it. I think at that point, we should have upgraded that system to relay to a SCADA system, because that was after the 2009 and 2011 upgrades that we did at both the water and wastewater plant. Basically, it's same radio read system that are on our storage tanks. The 2 water storage tanks that tell us what levels are in there and certain pumps, and it calls up to a call box if there's an alarm, if something's not working properly. The lift station just somehow had gotten forgotten about all these years, and it's kind of out there on an island, like I say, that the strobe light is still the only indicator if there's an issue out there.
Doesn't Rich call you when that light shines in his house?
I like strobe lights.
Oh, okay.
And so, if there is an issue out there, it becomes a sanitary sewer overflow, 24 call out to CDPHE that we are overflowing sewage. Granted, we've never really had many problems. Anytime that goes out, we have a power outage throughout town. We have a generator there that we can fire up. We have a secondary pump that we can hook up to that generator and pump it to there's a manhole right in front of Rich's home that we can bypass that and get that in there and control the flow. This is requesting to upgrade that alarm system to tie it into our SCADA, tie it into our call. If the flow, a certain alarm flow hits, it calls out and lets everyone know. Over all these years, I've been here for 15 years doing this, I'm getting called. I mean, we go out there and check it on a routine basis, but I'll get a call, hey, the strobe light's gone. Normally it's a power bump that the town has required, and it just goes off, and it's not a true alarm system, but there was an issue that bumped the system. This would just radio read it down to the wastewater plant, tie it into the whole radio. Mountain Peaks has been doing all our systems. I reached out to another company. It was a little over their head, but I think they're the ones that has done all our meters and all the radio read meters. They're kind of just in our system on that. So I just want to upgrade this one system that hasn't been tied into the system to call out if there's alarms that we're aware of, that personnel can get out there on more of a timely response than waiting for someone to actually not just drive by that and ignore it, you know, because we don't drive by it every day. But I'm just trying to upgrade our system to the 21st century, bring that into the rest of the water plant, the storage tanks, and everything else that's not in our 2 main plants.
So does he get the light? so that you can
I can get one at
put it in your
Walmart.
garage.
So that's basically what it is. It's a collection sewer system that just needs to be tied into our system.
Would it also give you alerts if, for instance, the power just went out and it needs to be rebooted or whatever?
Once it's tied into the SCADA system, because it's still not just relays, it's simplified control boxes there. There's no computers, there's no nothing there. Once that's tied into the wastewater plant, we can set up power bumps, levels, I mean, all these different types of things that, hours. Well, we have hours out there, but it's still a dial hour, so we can get those hours that just upgrade that system a little bit, so.
Okay.
So, and just the last thing is, this would be coming out of a collections and repair lines fund. We have $17,000 in that fund. This is $14,250, so we have money to cover this. But because it's over my limit of 10,000, I'm bringing it to you.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
I think Rich owns this one.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
should make
you
this
definitely
motion.
Yes.
Only if I can have the light back there.
I knew you wanted it.
I move to approve the request for Mountain Peak Controls to install a radio monitoring alarm system, the lift station at Major Anderson, not to exceed $14,250.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve. All in favor say aye. Can we unmute her so we can
Aye.
see her vote? Okay, thank you. Any opposed?
Which barrels, the more listening.
It stays within budget.
Who seconded that, please?
Rob Connell.
Thank you.
Motion passed. Moving on, we have, agenda item number 6 is ordinance number 7, series 2023. This is also a first reading. This is a recommendation from Business Promotions Commission to amend section 18.20.050 to allow internally illuminated open signs in the historic business district.
Okay, so, you have a report. I tried to give a summary from the discussion of how we got to this point. It was debated, it was very, illuminating, the discussion.
Pun intended.
No pun intended. But the Business Promotion Board, voted, and it was in favor to pass this, or to recommend it to bring to here. And so the bottom line that comes out of this, they're representing business promotions, they're trying to promote businesses, and there are businesses that are struggling at night to be recognized that they're open at night, and they felt that this could be a good gesture for business promotions, in order to have some, a very clarified point of this code, would be an exception to only this would be allowed. No neon signs, no flashing signs, but just a regular open, and even defines it a 2-foot square open sign that would be internally lit in order to indicate if a business was open during the evening hours at night. And so that was the only thing that was the exception. No other kind of sign, no dancing pool of girls or nothing like that. No, radio springs flashing from Cars movie, nothing like that. It's just a regular open sign. And so that was what was recommended to bring to this board.
Yeah, can I add on to that, is the rep for Business Promotions Commission, we were very clear that the sign has to be turned off when the business is closed, so that it's not accidentally or whatever left on overnight, not, to disturb the atmosphere and ambiance of 6th Street. Amanda Cooper, the owner-operator of Cooper's on the Creek Restaurant, shared that she feels that her business is directly impacted when someone at her location forgets to turn the sign on, that open sign is very important to business. And, that it does certainly, attract customers. So, we all know what Sixth Street looks like, and even if you're right in front of the place, sometimes you can't see if something is open unless you go up to the door and you see the signs. And as people are driving down, especially at night, I don't think that, it's not necessarily just foot traffic that is able to see what's open, so.
Okay. Yes, Deanne?
I'm going to say not only no, but hell no. I'm going to reiterate everything Paul Boat said at the beginning of this because he didn't have time to be able to stay here till this. But to keep the historic part historic, we can't have that kind of lighting. They can light up the windows so that it looks like they're alive. They can there's, the hanging kind of signs with lights. There's just lots of things they can do. And this should have gone before DRC, before it came to us, because that would have knocked out a lot of these questions. It can't be like this. I'm sorry. We need to protect the historic feel of here, and a lit light is gonna intrude.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
my understanding that even if a store owner wants to have a sign there, they still have to get that sign approval from DRC. So DRC is not out of this mix.
It's more for the lighting and how much it's lit up.
Right.
And which was already determined to be a certain size.
Yeah,
Basically,
no
it's
more
like
than
this.
2 square feet, or 2, yeah. Oh, 2 foot square, 2 square feet.
So, any other comments?
On the motion, and if I can make a suggestion, the motion sort of says, I approve to change the code in the following ways, etc. You're doing an ordinance here, and as you know, when you do ordinances, the real way to approach it, I move to approve ordinance number 7, first reading. So just go to where it says attachments and turn that into a motion.
Okay.
And add on first reading. With all respect, I don't mean to slow you down, but to make our record right on the minutes, you've got to have an ordinance number that got approved. So, but the title of the ordinance is right there under attachments, and you can use that as a motion.
So I'll stumble through that.
Very good.
I move to approve ordinance number 7, series 2023, an ordinance amending the Georgetown Municipal Code to permit internally illuminated signs in the historic business district on first reading.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 7, series 2023. Any further discussion? Yes.
I'm sorry, is it okay if I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the motion says to permit internally illuminated signs, shouldn't it say only open signs?
You're approving ordinance number 7, which
Has that.
the ordinance contains how
Okay.
those signs are
Just a question,
allowed.
because it says
So-
it up there, it says it in other places, so that's why I wanted to ask.
Okay, sure,
Good
sure,
question.
good question. Okay. All right, we'll take a vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Very much so, not in the historic district.
Motion passed.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I did.
John.
John, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Agenda item number 7 is the water storage agreement with the city of Golden.
What year do you know?
Our water council, Cindy Cobell, who's great about monitoring all the rights the town has put together a memo and a water storage agreement you see in your packet. The town has for quite some time had an agreement with the city of Golden. The town owns some Vidler Trans Mountain Water rights, which are valuable rights because you can use them to extinction because they don't arise on the side of the Continental Divide, they're Trans Mountain, and that's all good. But we have an agreement with Golden for the storage of those rights, and I didn't negotiate that agreement. I'm not an expert on this, other than having read it and talked to Cindy. And the issue is that they needed to adjust the agreement in some, I think, minor ways, but there's a timing problem because right about now is when those rights are in priority and the Fiddler water rights are being diverted. And we have to have an agreement in place to be able to appropriately store the town's share of those Trans Mountain water rights. This came up really quickly last week, and so it got added to the agenda rather quickly, and everyone apologizes for that. At first we thought we might have to just get it signed up and get it ratified tonight, but Cindy reached out to Golden and they confirmed that no, as long as we get this approved tonight, we'll be able to we'll be able to convert those Fiddler water rights and take advantage of them and store them as the agreement allows. They're stored up in the Gwinnett Reservoir. It's important to the town that this agreement, which is a revision of one we've had before, is approved so that we are able to take advantage of those water rights in a timely fashion. I recommend its approval.
Okay. She makes it clear that she's wanting to go back to the city of Golden and work out a few things. Does it feel, I'm just asking if either you or Rick know if she's already reached out to them and said, we'd like to come back to you, and whether they're receptive to this, or?
No, that's for the 2024 deliveries.
Oh.
I'm looking at her memo. It says, I recommend you approve the agreement. We will negotiate with Golden regarding clarifications with the goal of amending the contract before the 2024 Fiddler diversion, so a year out.
Okay.
I believe that her desire to get clarification should not slow down the need to have the agreement in place. And everyone, Rick and I got this on 2 days ago. So, and it was, oh my gosh, you have to sign this like yesterday. So I'm doing the best I can with the pressure that's been put on us by others. But I do understand, I know enough about water law to know that when you're in priority, you better grab that water, because if you don't, you're not gonna see it again, and it's valuable to the town. Even in this wet year, which is great, I mean, an embarrassment of riches for us, but that's not always true. So, I will ask that Cindy, before we do this again, that we have her online, and she's great in explaining kind of our water package. We've got some new board members that haven't seen her ever, and I'm going to recommend after tonight that this is great, Cindy, but before we do it again, let's pick a time well in advance that you give the board a little more context for the stuff I'm trying to carry her, no pun intended, water for her here tonight. And see, I can do that too, Rich.
I can do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion? I think there is.
Dan has a question.
Yes, Dan?
Okay, wait, what? Okay. Colorado water law basically boils down to use it or lose it. And does this set any kind of a precedent for us that we're giving up 12 and a half acre feet per year for 3 years, showing that we don't need that? Consequently, could we be argued in water law that so that we end up losing half of that 25? And I also want to know what was the result of the hygrometer, whatever it's called, the measurement on the lake. Is there any way we can use that to show that we have a little more storage area? And how does Excel screwing around with the other lake and dam reflect our storage ability?
Well, I'm happy to answer the first question. I used to practice water law, and it doesn't quite boil down to use it or lose it. It's a little more complex than that, but that's one of the many themes in Colorado water law. But here, we have an agreement with the city of Golden that provides for that 25 acre feet into 12 and a half and 12 and a half. And the fact that we have that agreement and participate in that agreement is perfect evidence for our use of our water rights. I've had to litigate abandonment proceedings, and those are the proceedings where you litigate with the state engineer's office whether or not you have in fact used it, and if you haven't, you do lose it. So I'm very familiar with how those cases are put on. And here, among other things, the agreement provides the evidence that we are using that water and we are storing it for beneficial use pursuant to an agreement with Golden that specifies how that 12 and a half, how that 25 acre feet is divided up. So I absolutely disagree that approving this would assist in proving abandonment. In fact, it proves the reverse. Now, having said that, what XL is, our relations with XL and the lake aren't affected by this agreement, and while it's a fair question to ask, I'm not the right person to answer it, and it is not something that affects this water storage agreement on the Vidler rights, and I would ask the board to act on the water storage right on the Vidler rights. To the extent there's questions of the board on XL and the lake generally, that's a perfect subject for the water rights update that Cindy Covell should really give to the board sometime in the next few months. And she comes up regularly. Everyone always finds it really illuminating to have that session.
I think
really
refreshing is the right word.
Really refreshing. So, joking aside, on the first subject, no, this doesn't demonstrate abandonment. It demonstrates exactly the opposite. And I would urge that you approve it. On the second matter, perfect question for Cindy, valid question, good question. She'll give you a much better answer than I ever could to that one.
Okay.
Is there a way to get out of this and just have our own water rights and too bad about Golden?
You can certainly do that, and I guess I defer that question to Cindy too, since this is an ongoing year-to-year agreement, and we do have, but the problem really is storage. And where do you put that water? Because if you don't have a place to store it, you can have the best water right in the world, but if you can't store it, you're gonna have to either use it as direct flow, and if you don't have a use for it direct flow, then you let it go on down the river. So it's really about storage. And I think, frankly, Cindy has worked with Golden, Blackhawk, who are kind of our partners and sometimes in crime, but you know, we work with them to maximize the storage opportunities we have on the upper range of the Clear Creek watershed. And you know, there's lots of little, I won't say tricks, but lots of little mechanisms you can do to leverage your water rights, and that's what she's good at. Fair question for her, but I think she's maximized storage as much as we can, given the buckets that are available.
Man, you're on a roll.
Oh, yeah, buckets.
Yes.
When Cindy comes, all she talks about
Buckets.
are buckets. That's not one I'm in. That's,
He usually uses doors, you
That's
know,
kind
he uses
that's
a
a
door.
He's a doorman.
He's a
She's
doorman,
a bucket
he's a
lady.
doorman.
that's a water lawyer's thing, you know, it's a tiny little club. I used to be in that club. But, that's their.
Who's a bucket man?
Yeah, that's the deal.
I
So,
like the rocket.
any further questions on this one?
Sure, do we have a motion in fact of that?
I didn't see one.
Did not.
We can make
gotta
one
make
up.
it a recommendation that Cindy does.
Proper motion would be to approve the 2023 storage agreement with the city of Golden.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I gotta go down as opposed. I see problems in this.
Okay, motion passed. Agenda item number 8 is the approval of a short-term license agreement for the firehouse.
I'll start it and whatever you fill in. All right, this is the license agreement that we've been working with the Clear Creek Fire Authority for several months, it feels like. What we submitted, it's been tweaked just a little bit to actually get more clarity after, Jerry has talked over and seen from their attorney, Bob Cole. And even in the back, when it describes the exhibits are actually probably a better job than what we submitted to them. So it clearly shows outline of what what the town's use of the building would be on the second floor. The only change that we saw on this exhibit is the women's bathroom is not included, it's just the men's bathroom. So that's the only difference, and we're fine with that. And then on the next. No, it doesn't say that we can't use it, it just means we're not responsible for it, so they'll be responsible for all upkeep of that. And I think that they have more.
I think she had a different avenue than she.
Gotcha. Okay, moving on. And then the other one was the parking situation. This is a diagram that's more clear, showing specifically where the Georgetown Police Department parking allotted areas are. And so it's on the south end, in the front of the building, shows the entry clearly spelled out, and then in the rear, there's 2 parking spaces that they're designated for the town as well.
Are we gonna put some signage up?
Yes, we're gonna put signage up. We already have some signs that we had before, and we're just gonna use the same signs.
Just so the public will know.
So the public will know, yeah. Jerry, did I miss anything?
2 quick notes. Bob Cole was good about actually tuning this up. I wrote it, and when I did get his comments just a day or 2 ago, they were fine. He had, I think, significantly improved it. It's not his fault or mine, I guess, to know that you're renting space, we're licensing space on the second floor, not the first.
Correct.
There's 2 references in here to the first floor, so we'll correct those to the second floor. There's a reference to, in letter E on the recitals of the January 9, 2023 funding IGA. Actually, I think that's correct. When Ed and I were talking through it, I'll confirm, but you approved an update to that funding IGA in December of last year, and then it went through a bunch of signatures. I think maybe the last signature was in fact July or January of this year, so that's probably correct, but I'll check. Other than that, it's, I think, ready to go. The exhibits do a much better job, as Rick pointed out, of showing not only our space, but the parking, which is really important, I know, the parking. So I recommend approval. And did we give them a motion? Probably not. Proper motion, when you're ready, I realize you might have questions, is to approve the short-term license agreement with the Clear Creek Fire Authority.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the short-term license agreement with the fire authority. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
When does the big move take place?
Motion passed.
Or when is the big?
That's in his
Update?
Rick's update.
Oh, I know, well, then update the update.
Stay tuned.
Right, stay tuned. I did read it, but I'm sure
Thank you
it's,
for the update.
there's even more hot off the press from now, or from 2 days ago.
That's your cue.
All right, I've been waiting.
Subway.
So we gave the police department 2 weeks to go ahead and
Get out.
get it out. And so they have, you can see in our expenditures, they have purchased furniture, they've assembled the furniture. It's a very nice looking space. If you have time, I encourage you to go over and look at it. I took a picture this morning, so if you want to stop and see a picture of what it looks like, come see me afterwards. So the plan is in 2 weeks, they'll have everything moved out of here. And then the next 2 weeks, we're gonna try to get these two offices and downstairs, because Mary will then move into my office, and then her space will become the assistant space. And, but directly in front of us, the small office here will be Jess's, and then I'll take over the police departments. So it kind of spreads us out a little bit, but it gives us, you know, we're gonna have to probably paint the rooms, may have to get a couple file cabinets. I'm gonna need a new desk. That desk downstairs is very old, and I think Mary really wants it downstairs. So we're gonna let her have it.
I don't really want it. We'll discuss.
Firework.
So Mary and I actually, this week, we're gonna go through and do inventory of what we need to do for changes for the offices. So her and I will do that together. So we've kind of partitioned 2 weeks to kind of get all of our stuff done. Hopefully it won't take us that long, but we would really like to take that, which then gives me enough time to start working on the assistant position. So where we are on that is, we have 3 candidates right now. 3 candidates that I feel are qualified for us to kind of start interviewing. I've also reached out to 4 universities in Denver that have master's programs in public administration. I sent it to all of them. They all responded with excitement. Thank you for passing this on. We will send it to our recent graduates who are potentially wanting to, you know, they went into the program to get into the field. And so this is an opportunity for them to see the job post and then apply if interested. So our interviews will start the 20th of June and the 23rd, the 20th through the 23rd. And so that's when we'll start it. I've already done all the questions. I've blocked off the time. I'm in the process of picking some panelists to be on that. So I'm looking forward to that. So any questions regarding the assistant position or the great move?
Are any of these assistant applicants local-ish? Like, are they all from Colorado or are they outworlders?
Oh, great question. So we have one that lives in Georgetown that works for the county. Number 2 is somebody that worked with me in Brush that has skills to do this and they're interested, they've applied. And then the 3rd one is from Massachusetts. So that one would be a red herring to see, but they all have great experience and administratively could do the job. So anyways, I am excited about that. I guess a couple other things, we had a staff meeting, and so I'm gonna just share some of the things that's going on.
Do you want to introduce Jess?
Oh, have we not?
Not everybody
I'm so
might
sorry.
know her.
Thank you for doing
Sure.
that. We have with us tonight Jess Edwards. She is our recent hire for the marketing and events coordinator position. And so we are very excited that she's here. So just to give a couple bullet points of her. I was flooded with, 30 applications, and Jess was a clear standout from the very beginning. We were kind of excited to see her resume. We then looked at, it was about 6 candidates that we interviewed, and Jess was a shining star in the interview process. And then when we deliberated into discussing who we're gonna choose, and it was really a unanimous decision to go after Jess. So from the very beginning, we were excited to go after Jess and can't believe that this relationship worked out. We wanted her and she wanted us. And so she has moved here. She's living above the Silver Queen Tap. And she started a little bit of remote work to kind of get our websites up. She's been working with Mary and Amanda to kind of help coach. So, and Jen and Mary have also been working with her too from the office standpoint. But I don't know, Jen, do you have anything else to add, Jess?
No, I think that's very similar. I think my heart fluttered when I saw the opportunity, and I've just loved every moment since. So I kind of dove right in. I'm still working on those website updates. We've had Westward articles and advertisements go out. We have a lot of events coming up for the 4th of July that I have for y'all. So I'm just excited, and I just hope there's more to come.
Great.
And she's a local Coloradan, you can tell by her accent.
It's funny, when I moved to Georgia, the kept calling me a Yankee, and now I moved here and I can't even stop being a Southern.
There's Georgia people.
Nebraska, the Yankee state.
I guess I wanna just address something that was in the very beginning of this meeting, because it was in our staff meeting, we discussed it. We are aware that the bears are out, and that they're getting in the trash cans. Our police department, code enforcement are gonna be working to try to figure out which trash cans these are. We do have a good idea which ones they are, and we're gonna go talk to the owners. Some of them may be short-term rentals, which means we'll be working with the owner representative, but we are gonna work on it, so that we don't want it to get out of hand. We understand the bears are out, but we are well aware of what.
They're aware. We're bear aware.
We're aware of it. The trash cleanup from our staff's perspective went incredible. We were extremely grateful of changing locations and how the town responded. So we felt like it was it was out of the park. We enjoyed to see the change. We had nothing but great feedback. We did not give any incentive, period, to our gang that showed up. They showed up on their complete own, and they did a fantastic job of cleaning up, but that had nothing to do with any incentives for them to come. That they did that on their own. We did not recruit them at all, and there's no plan to give them an incentive for them to be doing this. So I wanted to clarify that. Jim?
Excuse me, but I just wanted to tell you guys that they didn't show up the past couple of years, so I think they felt like they really should show up this year because they didn't do it in the past.
They had posted some things on social media too about how much they had collected, because they were down primarily around the lake, which is where they.
It's normal.
Yeah, no, I know, but it was, you know,
nice.
good that they.
So, and then I just want to respond on the other thing of the accusation that we did not publicize this. Just not true. We send it everywhere on social media, Facebook, our own town website. We send it out to all the business. And we did our job to make sure our town should know that what we're doing. And it's just another false accusation, and I'm offended.
I was out there at 8 a.m. making sure it was promoted. I know Jen put it into our emails multiple times, so I hear the concern. I know that there's an opportunity for that, but I do reflect.
Yes.
I mean, one suggestion for positive looking forward, we could get a banner and put it up.
Yeah,
It's always the second Saturday in June. I mean, that would be helpful.
We used to have a banner. Yeah,
But we
that's
also changed
what
the
I
date,
thought, we did, yeah.
Well, we'll get another
It's
banner.
probably faded, we need a new
It
one.
could be.
We're gonna get one that flashes this time.
Yeah.
Neon.
Neon.
Trash.
I'd be happy to do
Make sure it's
Yes, yeah.
Just wanted update on any of the Excel stuff and to talk about the meeting on the 3rd or something, and that we have to have comments in by July 20th.
June 27th, comments, okay. So we're gonna go into an executive session to discuss some of that, of some options that we're gonna look at. So we'll talk about that in executive session. And I guess I wanna go kind of circle back on a couple things. We are aware of Crazy Horse, Rusty's Garage, and the apartment building that Mr. Buckley owned. A lot of those cars and junk has been removed, and they've been doing a lot to clean that up already. So, I mean, even from 2 months ago, it significantly looks better than it was. And so, we are well aware of these things, and we are addressing them as it comes up. So, I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware that we are aware of this.
I don't find Rusty's objectionable. He's done a lot to clean that up. There used to be about twice as many cars there. All of the ones that are there appear to be ones he's working on. And I just don't have a problem with that, because when you've got a repair shop, you've got to have places to park it. And at the very least, it should be grandfathered in.
Well, this was a situation in Brush that I had to deal with a garage that had a bunch of cars. So I know what to do, and I can send a letter to them. There's provisions in our code that if they have cars that are just there without a direct order, we can have them removed. So, I know what to do, this is something that we had to do before. But,
It's not a problem though, and he has had his business here for a very long time, and we should support that. Plus, he's the only game in town if you need your car fixed, so you don't want to have him fold up and go away. I don't have a problem with them being there. That's just a little town business.
Yeah,
Hey, can I ask you a question?
yeah, sure.
So you sent letters of demolition by neglect to 912 Rose and Sumner House. Did you send them to the Crazy Horse?
No.
Can
You can't whisper around here, either talking or you're not.
we? Well, sorry, people have
Speak
to
up,
hear. Honestly,
yes.
sorry.
Yeah.
So, that is something that we're looking at, so we brought up in our staff meetings to discuss Crazy Horse. We need a little bit more time to decide what our action's gonna be.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if that's the direction we're gonna go with demolition by neglect, or if it's gonna be illegal storage or some other means, but we're looking at code enforcement right now.
Got it.
Figure out what can we do. So, but it does get brought up in our discussion. Another one that we're looking at is I think it's called the Pole House.
Holy?
It's the one, if you're going up the Loop Drive, it's the house that was Holy. Okay, the one that was moved where the interstate used to be. I did go with Brent and Joan, all three of us went to go look at it, and your wife was there too. So, the exterior part of the home, there's areas that definitely need to be addressed. Sounds to me like History Colorado is interested in fixing it up. Internal, it was actually incredible. I'm not seeing any leaks. It's a stunning piece of history that should be preserved, and it sounds to me that they're willing to do it. So I'll be in the process of writing a letter to get this process going. So, Axiom, that's the other thing that as far as the fire, the police station area, Axiom is gonna be setting up, I believe it's tomorrow, the next day, the little small server for them to use the police department on. So that's coming up. Ryan, he was here, but they are digging on Skyline right now. And the whole point is to dig a portion of that main line and put insulation around it so that it wouldn't freeze again like it did. So that's being corrected. Flushing, they're 50% done on the, sorry, 2/3 the way done, flushing all the hydrants. They are 50% done, the lead and copper testing. However, they're meeting with the EPA to make sure that what they're doing is sufficient for what we're required to do.
Hey, on that, Jim came by my house. One of the things he didn't know about that I thought would be helpful are those 3M lead pens. If you brush it up against the lead pipe, it turns the tip of the pen red. And then you know that that's a lead, piece of lead. I gave him a kit, send him on his way, but maybe you might wanna go, you can get it at Home Depot, but if he's gonna be doing that sort of thing, that's a great test to be able to tell whether you've got lead pipe.
That's excellent, I'll pass that on to Brian. Down at 22nd Street, the approaches are done, like I said, everything's finished on that project. We have, for the paper, to sign the check over to Buckley LLC. We are extending that trail all the way now so that people will be out of the streets. And it's been compressed, but because of the rain, they're gonna wait until it dries out some more, compress it again, and put the crusher fines on top of that. And then we're gonna probably have to do a survey on the other side of the street, on the south end, because people's yards go all the way up to it, and we need to figure out exactly what our property right-of-way is before we can put another, ultimately it'll be a sidewalk. That's what Cindy's gonna ultimately help us find money for sidewalk. She doesn't know, but she will.
No, that's not.
So, but in the meantime, what we'll do is get a survey, we'll find out how much space we have, 3 feet, 5 feet, and then put crusher fines in that, just to kind of keep a trail on the other side until we can get a sidewalk put in that. We've been working on 4th of July, the area right now that we're trying to work through is the beer garden, where that's gonna go. We had a lengthy discussion on it this morning. Historically, it has been a family event in City Park, and you know, we added a beer garden, we put it in Borland Park. The feedback was they didn't like that, they felt like it was too removed, families were divided. If you go to beer, then you had to be over here until you finish it, and so what the recommendation was to move it in City Park. So either the options became make all of City Park a beer garden, and so then families can interact. However, I mean, I feel your heartburn because we talked about the same thing, is it's a family-friendly environment. We do recognize that there are some elements in our community that can turn this into a bad event quickly, and are we prepared for that? So then, instead of making all of City Park, do we partition a small area of City Park? Well, that's another challenge, because historically had vendors then in there, picnic tables, people bring their own chairs, they designated certain areas as their spaces for years. So it is still, we're in discussion of this, we're probably gonna bring the vendor and have a discussion with the staff to try to bring a solution. The alternative was Strauss Park, could be the beer garden. It's still where all the festivities are. You know, there is another brewery across the street from that too, so that it's still showing support. But it is not signed off on at this point, we're still trying to work through it. But it is a situation that is, we've already discussed it at length with our staff. We are wanting to bring in a bucket brigade. And, you know, that was from the past. It used to go vertical, we're not looking at going vertical, because of people who love alcohol too, and it just can create a lot more risk and hazard. And John loves those things, I know. But we're trying to do something fun that be flat ground, and, but that will be included into this year's 4th of July events.
We could resurrect the #1 team, the wet spots. We've been the #1 team for quite a while.
That's a lot of practice.
They're gonna start practicing now?
So, and I guess the last update, which.
Why are we not amazed?
I know, right? So I guess the last one that I'll say is, ESI is the company that's supposed to be doing the paving for a portion of Main Street and 8th Street.
Rose Street.
8th Street.
Rose Street and 8th Street, not Main Street and 8th Street.
Sorry, you're right. So Rose Street, from 15th to 11th, and then 8th Street, we're doing concrete pans and fixing the sidewalks that have caused drainage problems. We are looking at Main Street as well, so that is another paving that we're gonna be looking at, and that would go from 14th Street all the way north to Clear Creek Drive, not going down into Clear, but we'll stop at like Skyline, around that area. So that will be another quote that we'll be getting soon. ESI, we reached out to 3 companies. 2 of them have bailed and said they can't do it. So ESI is the 3rd one that we're gonna be getting a quote. They are supposed to be starting the previous project that we approved already next week. So it's been, I know it's on in my notes here, the 11th, that's when it was supposed to be, it was confirmed, and then something came up and they had to move it to next week. Questions?
Okay, first comment is that the beer garden is not the traditional thing. The barbecue in City Park is, and so that should take higher priority and familyness and all of that than the beer garden. The beer garden is a money-making project by a private entity. Second comment is the water games on downtown. I'm assuming that's where you're having them, because that's where we always used to have them. And it was great fun to stand under the tower and let the guys dump the water down on you, because it's July and you're melting, and all of us, you know, here's 50 gallons of water splashing around, and it's really fun. So how are you going to do that on the flat?
I don't know, because I'm not.
High-powered hose, it could be a hose.
Yeah.
We're just gonna open up a high-powered hose.
Fire hydrants.
Yeah, if you ever see the rides in the 60s, it's the same thing.
I know, it is a tradition that we're going to look at.
It might look a little different this year, just based on my research, but we're still trying to make sure that it does have the integrity and, you know, the promotion of our fire departments and stuff like that at the forefront. No riffraff.
Just a note on the beer garden, it is being underwritten by the community center, so, for the potential liquor license. So it is contributing to a nonprofit if the beer garden is in place.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions about road and bridge on your project,
Sure.
or they would fall under that. What's going on Griffith Street, like the 1000 block, like right in front of Berlin Park, but on Griffith, where there's a lot of,
Yeah.
front of Jimmy and
They're
Beth's house.
reclaiming
What
the
is that?
street. I guess the land encroached out in the, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I mean, I kind of, I stole your thunder.
No, keep going, you're.
It
Kind of
is-
like soil
Isn't that
erosion?
just, in other words, it just encroached out into the street, and so they're kind of reclaiming the street?
Cleaning it up, widening.
Cleaning it up.
So we're reclaiming our street.
We're reclaiming our
Cool.
streets, we're taking back our
We're
streets.
taking it back. And what about those two big concrete pads kind of by your, they're not pads, they're like big concrete frames on Clear Creek Drive across from
That is
the,
intriguing.
I just saw those.
I thought that they were gonna be part of the,
Lift station.
your oscillating, dance light there.
Yeah, the dance.
But they don't seem to,
I'm not sure, I can't answer. I've noticed it.
yeah.
Just the last couple times I've drove through.
Yeah, they've just been placed there recently. I doubt that they're going on the roofs of the condos, So,
They bring in.
Part of the rec is doing something, by the house there, though, they had surveyors out, and I talked to Beth, but I think they're putting in some fencing or
Yeah,
something.
it's fencing.
yeah,
I thought it was like a jacuzzi or something that you're gonna.
I don't know,
I'll find it out.
okay.
Concrete pads.
It's actually for fencing.
And potholes by the roundabout.
So that you can
What
fence
about all of
on
our
the concrete.
potholes?
Not so many conversations at once.
Is Road and Bridge hoping to take care of those soon?
Yeah, so they are working on the potholes. Another thing we're gonna be trying to get is Banky, when he's cut open the road in several places for the past few years, we're gonna get him to fix those areas that he's gone in where it's sunk in and not compacted the way it's supposed to. So Banky is aware of them, we've had a discussion, but we're gonna get a timeline of when we're gonna get these done, or have people have them done. So I will find out about the concrete pads, because I'm not sure what they are either. Anything else? Great.
Okay, how about the takeout and delivery permit for liquor license holders, was that just informational?
Jen had a question about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's informational, I guess, this time to see, the permit was always issued just by the state, and we didn't do anything. We only have, I think only Coopers and Guanella Pass have one of the permits. And so now the state is saying, that the local license authority needs to determine if they want to have a local permit as well for it, added on to the state, like we do all of our other ones, so. Maybe we'd ask you guys.
And during the pandemic, a local license wasn't required because it was the pandemic. And the state said, statewide license, here's the rules. And they sent that notice out to Jen, caught and brought to my attention and said, okay, the state, you still need a state license, but we're back to the old rules where local licenses can be required. So you have really two choices. One is to require that there also be a local license, and so you'll see those in front of you, and you can put conditions on local licenses just like you do for other things. Or do nothing, in which case only a state license will be required. So the people that are doing takeout and delivery now will be able to keep doing it without the need to come to town. If you choose to direct there be a local license, we'll put that in place and probably give some time for the people that are doing that work now under their state license to come and get a local license. If you do nothing, it doesn't change for the people that are doing it now.
Is there a strong feeling that we need the local license?
I mean, no, not from my standpoint, I mean, the state only charges $11, and they send us the license and then we send it to the applicant.
So it keeps us in the loop as far as.
Yeah, we're kept in the loop.
Okay, okay. What's the feeling?
It's already being regulated by the state and we're notified.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the loop then.
And it's not a large volume of, how much they're going, it's like what you have at a meal or something, it's not like delivering kegs or anything.
Yeah, this probably covers half a bottle of wine that you didn't finish the dinner.
It's kind of small potatoes, it's true.
Yeah.
And it's also true that there's no, sunset time limit on your ability to decide to enter the
Right.
arena. If you determine, if it comes to a year from now, whatever, police department starts saying, we're seeing real problems in some way, who knows, with this.
And we did ask Randy today, and he said he hasn't seen any problems.
Okay, that was one of my concerns.
All right,
Okay.
sounds like no action at this time.
Okay.
All right, I just got two other things real quick. I would like for us to have a work session to discuss a couple things. And it's not urgent at all, but it needs to get on the calendar at some point for us to discuss it. One is short-term rentals, and I did mention some of the things that have been brought up in the past meetings here where we've discussed. I think we need to discuss it more in length and come up with a pathway so that Jerry and I can meet to discuss language changes if we want to go that route. But I still think we need to discuss it.
So you're coming up with a lot of other issues.
No, I mean, it's just some of the ones in the past that
Oh,
have
okay.
come to talk to us.
Got it.
So, and I mentioned it in our report. So, they're all in there, all the suggestions of would we consider changing. And some of them I'm not in favor of changing. I mean, internally we've discussed and felt like, no, we have a reason and it makes clear sense. However, there's other things that I'm well interested, such as lottery system. Are we interested in making it fair? However, it's gonna open up a whole can of worms, and I think we need to talk about it, because we have a lot of people who've invested a lot of money in their properties, and then if they were to lose it, it would be devastating. And we're talking about, family nest eggs. And so we need to delicately look and examine these situations. That's one. The second one is, ARPA funds. I know that's something I would love for us to discuss and have a clearer picture, because we have a year to spend that, and that year's gonna go really quick. It always seems to go faster than we think. But, the county has an expectation. I got an email from Beth Luther just recently about broadband, and I contacted Idaho Springs to ask them what was their understanding of that, and their response is, no, we're not spending a dime of our ARPA funds on broadband. That's not something that we ever committed and communicated, but there's an expectation, and I think that we need to discuss that, of how we're gonna use our ARPA funds to be able to go towards broadband, if we are gonna do that. And then the others were affordable housing locations. I know we talked about the mill site. The mill site we're actually investigating right now, and I did send you
I didn't have a chance to look at those.
Sure. But we're gonna, Lynette and I are looking at that, but we still need to bring that back to the board so that we can decide on direction for ARPA funds. So if there's appetite, I'd like for us to, Jen and I can determine on when we can do a work session for it.
What does ARPA stand for?
American Recovery and something Act.
Got it.
Yeah.
People, probably people.
Yeah, it's supposed to be COVID relief funds towards economic development, infrastructure, anything that can help recover from these things that and then they've expanded the list of what you can do, and so some of these things it falls into, like affordable housing options, or definitely in infrastructure, water, sewer lines extending, we can go towards that. Broadband, it goes towards that. So we don't have a lot of funds. I wanna say it's around 300,000 or so.
Just under.
Yeah, and so we're trying to make that go as far as we can, and, but we can have that discussion at that time.
Well, then we have the hotel. We have the ordinance that we pushed back for 6 months. We need to have a work session on that.
Yes.
So
we can have several work sessions to discuss them.
oh yeah, you bringing pizza?
Of course.
ARPA funds.
All right, there's the last things that I wanted to bring up. Okay.
All right. Anything else that anybody wants to bring up? Okay. At this point, we've got,
Somebody needs to make a motion, give it to me, now the rule is the person to my right.
Oh, great.
So, it's no longer.
Now we know why Rob moved.
You just have to read it, just read it.
I move to go into executive session under CRS 24-6-402, 4B and E, for a conference with the town attorney, town administrator, and appropriate staff to receive legal advice and instruct negotiators concerning capital prize mine pending litigation and Excel real estate negotiations.
Keep going.
I further move to adjourn the meeting at the conclusion of the executive session.
Good job.
Yeah.
okay.
All right.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Can you unmute yourself, please?
Looks like she's saying.
I did see a raised hand.
The problem is when Jen mutes it, I can't unmute it without doing some odd things. It's not as easy. Normally, you just push the space bar and you can say something.
Just say aye, please, if that's
Aye.
your vote. Thank you.
I only muted you because that dog is barking and barking and barking.
And there's nothing I can do about it, sorry.
Well, that's why we muted you.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So,
There's a separate Zoom link for that.
Yep.
And we want to take 5 minutes, clear the room of persons that aren't invited to the session.
right.
How many of you have dreams?